Round 2 of the 2023 Formula 1 season sees us come home for the British Grand Prix and the start of the European portion of the year, and some teams have wasted no time in bringing major updates to their cars. The Jaguar Works and Jaguar-powered McLaren come to their home race with engine updates to help close the gap to Audi, with Van Dorn also stating his team hoped the update would also bring better reliability. Mercedes hoped for a boost to their performance with an engine update of their own, but were plagued throughout practice with teething issues for both Verstappen and Russell. Red Bull think they've solved the issues that handicapped Pierre Gasly last race, but have said they won't have any actual upgrades on the car until round 3. They remain confident, however, that their car should be quick around the high-speed Silverstone circuit. The same could not be said of Audi and BMW. Audi admit their only saving grace is on the straights for now, and that they hope some classic British rain stays away this weekend, while BMW seem to have lost some pace since Bahrain, with Silverstone proving a harder challenge aerodynamically for all of the teams. The season certainly kicked off with a bang last time out, but with the first race rust out of the way, it remains to be seen what the true pecking order might look like. With that, it's time to see how everyone shaped up in qualifying. The classic curves of Silverstone are hosts to the second round of the 2023 F1 World Championship, and in the dry Saturday conditions, it was Daniel Ricciardo who put it on pole for the home crowd favorites McLaren. He's joined on the front row by the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly, 1/10 off the pace. Row 2 is another source of British pride, with the Jaguar of Van Dorn narrowly pipping the other McLaren of Aarava to third position, both drivers within 2/10 of the pole time. Winner of the opening round at Bahrain and current championship leader Carlos Sainz will start from inside the top 5 for Audi, while Antonio Giovinazzi proved Red Bull's pace is genuine with P6. The best of the rest was Max Verstappen, just over 4/10 off the pole time in his Mercedes, while leading Porsche driver Pascal Wehrlein was happy to break into the top 10 after just missing out on Q3 in Bahrain. George Russell ensures both Mercs are in contention for points today, starting from 9th, while the Saturday struggles continue for Ferrari, with Mick Schumacher starting on row 5. After missing Q3 by 5 thousandths of a second, Charles Leclerc will start from the bottom half of the grid again. He's joined on row 6 by the Jag of Alexander Albon, who is looking for his first points in F1. The second Porsche of Lando Norris starts 5 positions behind his teammate on row 7. He's joined by the second Audi of Vettel, both drivers looking to gain lots of positions in the race. Sergio Perez will start from 15th in his BMW alongside the leading Renault of Christian Lundgaard, both drivers less than 8/10 off the pole time and only 3/10 away from a time good enough for Q3. Row 9 is an all Aston Martin affair, with Callum Ilott outpacing Jamie Chadwick by less than half of a tenth. And bringing up the rear, it's Ocon and Aitken, both drivers about 1 second slower than the time set by Daniel Ricciardo, who will lead the way when the lights go out.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 MyDriver Career Mode Season number 9, round number 2 today for the British Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the opening round of this season and the return of F1 MyDriver Career, then be sure to go check out that video. Episodes are uploaded every single Monday and Thursday at 7 PM UK British Summer Time, so be sure to check the channel on those days every single week. So here we are then for round number 2 at the British Grand Prix, the start of the European portion of this season. And after the first episode, well, my word, we're in for a treat, I'm sure, for all the remaining 10 episodes, because the pack is so close. Only a second covering the entire field, so mega close. But my teammate Daniel Ricciardo is the one who stuck it on pole position. Then great job by him, but to be fair, we weren't too much slower, you know, just over a 10th slower, and that's down to P4, so that's how close and tight-knit it is. And the championship leader then, Carlos Sainz, down in P5 with the Audis. They're going to struggle in the high-speed corner, especially Sector 2. And with Jaguar, all the Jaguar powered cars having upgrades, I think we should hopefully have some decent race pace. But Red Bull looking quick, Mercedes also having some updates there, with Verstappen and Russell both in the top 10, and then what will be of the rest, we'll have to find out. But for us personally in this race, just the focus will be on trying to do the best job we can. Of course, we know we have a car that is good enough to be on pole position, so hopefully we can go out there and do the British crowd proud and try and fight for the win at our home Grand Prix, of course, and the team's home Grand Prix, as we settle in for that P4 P4 grid slot, and we get ready to go to 5 red lights for round number 2 of this season, the British Grand Prix. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway, and it's a good getaway for us. A little bit of a better one there for Stoffel Van Dorn. Slow one for Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull into turn 1, trying to make a move, instead having to just settle down for P4, as unable to make anything work to the inside. But meanwhile, Giovinazzi making a dive down the inside into Village on Carlos Sainz in the Audi. Slow start for him, but then you can see the engine winds up for the Audi, and he's able to get it on the exit. The two still side by side. It's Daniel Ricciardo that leads the way from Pierre Gasly, then Stoffel Van Dorn, myself, and in the background you can see Giovinazzi has settled in for P6, I think that is, and then behind him though is the Porsche and Mercedes car going side by side. Verstappen, the Pasco Wehrlein, two former teammates, remember, from 2019 season 5 of this career mode there. They're doing battle in 2 different cars now. But as we move back to our POV, P4 ahead though, Ricciardo under pressure from Gasly in the Red Bull. From P2, he's going to maybe go for a move. Yes, he's got the slipstream. He goes down the inside into Maggott and Beckett's. They're side by side through this high-speed section, and Gasly has made a wonderful move for the race lead there. So we saw that Red Bull were confident of their pace just due to the nature of the circuit and their strength of their car, and it's coming to fruition. But look at this, it's going to be 3 wide into Stowe. Van Dorn down the inside, Ricciardo in the middle. He's got the race lead back, and Gasly now has to fight back for P2, and we've gone the long way round. Lock up for Van Dorn, bit of a tussling and contact made, but we find ourselves in P3 now, going the outside of the Belgian man, as now we can see Sainz up into P4 as well, as he gets blocked off by ourselves a bit. We go very defensive into turn 1, but it's all kicked off on lap 1 there. I thought for sure Gasly was home and away then in first place, but straight away the nature of the new formula here in 2023, how light the cars are, how good the slipstream is. Ricciardo and Van Dorn both on the back of the Frenchman, and made it 3 wide straight away for the race lead. Great to see there. Behind still is Giovinazzi ahead of Max Verstappen, who now finds George Russell, his new teammate this season, behind him. So Russell doing some good work early on, and the 2 Mercedes cars looking a lot better after receiving upgrades. And then behind them you've got the mix of Ferraris, Albon and Sebastian Vettel, who qualified very poorly indeed in that second Audi, so he's going to have to make up some time, as we saw many times before last season. You know, Vettel on the back end of his career, a little bit slower on the Saturdays, but has still got the racecraft in him maybe on the Sundays. We now make a move on Pierre Gasly very easily up into P2. It's now a 1-2 for McLaren at the moment at the British Grand Prix. Ricciardo with the gap though, and so we're going to try and step on it and close up the gap and see if we can go for the race victory. That'll be mega to get a win early on this season, because of course with only 11 rounds, every single win and point will count, as we now see some mega battling going on behind us. This is Van Dorn v Gasly. Sainz in the background as well, lurking around. I'm sure that Audi will not waste any time trying to get a move done on the straights when it can, but of course in the corners it's a little bit slower, and you can see everyone's backing up a little bit there. Giovinazzi not too far behind either, but this time instead it's Van Dorn. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Oh my days, Sainz has actually made that move. He's made it work. He's overtaken Gasly. Gasly's lost 2 positions into what is usually flat out turn 1 at Silverstone here. Very unorthodox place to really even make a side-by-side moment, let alone 3 wide there. And so now Gasly under pressure from his Italian teammate Giovinazzi, and of course Gasly had issues last race. I don't know if he's got any issues again. Red Bull thought they'd solved it, but for some reason Gasly's a little bit slow at this moment in time. He's not got any damage there, so maybe just getting used to the tyres, maybe going off a little bit, because the tyre wear is quite heavy of course in this new formula. On lap number 4 the tyres already screaming a little bit, but here we are then piling on the pressure to our teammate Dan Ricciardo through the old turn 1. Couldn't quite make it, but into Maggott and Beckett's. We're going to make the move side by side on the left-hander, and then Ricciardo's still got the nose in. We have to leave him the space of course, but we found the move on the outside of that right-hander, the exit onto the back straight, but Ricciardo will come back at us straight away with DRS available to him there on the left-hand side. We go very defensive on the right. He's going to have to go the long way round. We go and cut across the race line to try and defend the position. Ricciardo has a great run, and he's going to dive round on the right. You can see we're jockeying for position up and down on the camera angle there. Ricciardo's still on the inside as Gasly now closes up there. We're going to maintain first place for how long it's going to be. Oh my god, no. For a second I thought this would be 4 wide as Sainz sends it to the inside and gets up into P3 then. So the Audi is actually looking not too bad race pace wise. Actually, I thought it would be a little bit weaker potentially, but you can see in the background Sebastian Vettel's also gaining some positions as Van Dorn now pressurizes Gasly. So the Frenchman still not really settling completely into this Grand Prix, as now Sainz goes for the double pass on Ricciardo and myself. Look at the power, but where's Ricciardo come from? On the outside, my word, what a move there by the Australian. We're now going to go try and get a bit of inspiration from that and go around the outside of Carlos Sainz to get back into P2. This is amazing. This is like watching, junior karting race going on the big stage, because look at that camera angle there. We've got 6 cars fighting for the top 6 positions, covered by less than half a second here. This is absolutely monumental, as now Sainz goes down the inside, Van Dorn as well, and we just about managed to survive that. I'm wincing at every one of these moves because it's getting so close to some contact and probably some race-ending collisions here, but we maintain P2, but for not too much longer, because Carlos Sainz is going to waltz past into P2, and as we enter the next right-hander, a little bit wide on the entry point, wobble on the steering wheel, and Gasly is able to nip it to the inside. So the finest of margins, like I said, the finest mistakes, and you're punished for it with this new formula when everything's so tight. I felt the tyre wobbling a little bit mid-corner, so maybe the tyre wears already kick in. So like Bahrain, remember, we got a massive undercut at Bahrain, so that may be the way to go about it once again here at the British Grand Prix. As we now watch on the next lap, this is Carlos Sainz making a move for first place in the Audi, but Ricciardo will be close behind there. Good exit off Le Field, maybe able to make a move into Copse potentially. Gasly's also not hanging about too much there. He's right in the back, and meanwhile behind, Van Dorn tries to attack me as Ricciardo is down the inside at Copse. Still side by side on the exit. Will he have it? No, he won't. The Audi's going to have the speed just about into Maggots to get first place, maintain first place, I should say. But as we move on to lap number 7, and Ricciardo still piles on the pressure. Gasly now in it, I'm also in it, and we're going to make a beautiful little pass maybe as we thread the needle round the outside, and we try to emulate what Charles Leclerc did in real life in 2019. It was, remember, on Pierre Gasly at Village. We've made it work. We're up into P3 now, and Gasly under pressure from the Mercedes car, I think that is, as well as his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi. As we move later into that same lap, Ricciardo again down the inside of Copse, but this time he's got a much better run, and my teammate up into first place, but Sainz is going to be right up the back to maybe line himself up for a repass on the exit of this section onto the back straight. We're also going to be there. DRS available to us, of course. Overtake mode, rich mix at this stage, not worrying too much about fuel or ERS, and here we come charging the move on Ricciardo. Sainz up into first, we're up into second, and so everyone has just swapped left, right and centre. It's absolutely thrilling, but also very difficult to keep up with, I can't lie. As we now go to the inside, Sainz has made a massive mistake there. We put the Spaniard under pressure, and now we find ourselves up into first place of the British Grand Prix. Look at this though, the top 6 nose to tail. We go very, very harsh on Sainz to defend the position, and in doing so, allow Ricciardo to get up into P2, but he's now going around the outside of us as we're really feeling the tyre wear. You can see I've locked up quite a fair few times now, as well as the other guys around us, so the tyre wear is kicking in quite a fair bit. So I'm going to say box in this lap. I want to try and get that same undercut we did at the Bahrain Grand Prix, but firstly, we are going to still try and pass Ricciardo if we can. We've not got DRS because Ricciardo actually passed us for first place just before the detection point, but we're still managing to go side by side in Le Field there on the exit. Little bit fine on the left-hand side there. My left front tyre rubbing against the bargeboard end plates of Ricciardo's car, but we're going to be able to make a pass into Copse, maybe lift off there just to make sure we make the corner with the tyre wears, with the tyres screeching out with the wear we've got now. Ricciardo has a look into Maggots Beckett's, but no use. So we're up into first, Ricciardo second, it's Gasly in third, Stoffel Van Dorn close behind in P4, Sainz down to P5 after that very harsh bit of defensive work from myself on this lap into turn 1, but needs must when the Audi car is so quick in a straight line. But now Ricciardo has a look on the outside at Stobe as we go through again, finding a very wide line there, but I now have to awkwardly cut in and go into the pit lane for a second there. I thought Ricciardo was going to completely block me off from coming into the pit stop, but we come in then for our first stop of the afternoon, potentially a second one, depending on how bad the tyre wear is. I don't believe there's any rain coming because it's pretty clear skies. Of course, the weather indicates clear skies, so we'll just kind of have to see about that. You never know, though, with the British Grand Prix around Silverstone, but we're in now for the set of medium tyres. The strategy, I feel, might be a set of soft, medium to softs due to the tyre wear, but we'll see. I thought that at Bahrain, and people managed to stretch the medium tyre and the hards, depending on what they did, so we'll kind of just see which one works out for us. You can clearly see now the fight for first place this time round, unlike Bahrain, is way more open, I feel. The Audis no longer have that massive advantage because there's too many high-speed corners around Silverstone for their engine advantage to really matter and pay out overall. And also, compared to Bahrain, the fighting's continued on lap after lap, so they haven't had a chance to be in that clean air as they were in Bahrain. But as we now go on our outlaps, we're going to look at some replays here. This is on the same lap I came in for my pit stop. We've got Leclerc, the Albon here. The two drivers very familiar with one another in real life. Leclerc goes the long way around at Luffield there. Makes a very nice overtake in that Ferrari. And so that's, I believe, for the bottom end point in the top 12. And now further on, we can see Giovinazzi with some damage. I think that's the front wing. So the Italian is going to be a little bit slow in that Red Bull. So unfortunate for him. So it's maybe just Gasly flying the flag. And speaking of Gasly, he's going to maybe become a bit again to a three-way fight for the race lead. It's Van Dorn down the inside of Ricciardo. And Ricciardo nearly loses P2 as well. So maybe my teammates also feeling the harsh tyre wear. As we cut back to the live racing then, this is now 2 laps after I made my pit stop. Ricciardo somehow got back into the lead then. Van Dorn second, Gasly third. Is now we make watch on with a fantastic attempt of an overtake from, I think that's George Russell in the monster Mercedes car on Mick Schumacher. Doesn't quite make it work through Copse, but Schumacher maintains that position there and still doing a great job in his only second race for Ferrari. Now goes on to overtake Pascal Wehrlein maybe in the other Porsche. Russell follows him through, so the Merc looking much better this Grand Prix, especially in the hands of George Russell. I don't know where Verstappen is at this stage, as we now see Van Dorn and Carlos Sainz going side by side through the last few corners of that lap. Van Dorn just about manages to go on the left-hand side up into P2, but look at the closing speed there for Sainz. He gets it back up into second place, into turn 1 there, so it's going to be a back and forth, I feel. And look at that, P4, Sebastian Vettel, come out of nowhere. He's had a very quiet Grand Prix. We've not seen much of the German, but he's recovered very well indeed from such a poor qualifying. So Vettel might be a dark horse to come back in this race. He's actually looking quicker than Sainz at the moment, because remember, Sainz has been there the entire time, whereas Vettel's had to overtake all these cars, including Albon and Leclerc. And speaking of those two, they're still going at it on this next lap, and Leclerc closing in with DRS, of course, to the inside. Albon keeps it on the right. They bang tyres a little bit. A great aerial shot to watch this, and this may be a bit of deja vu as Leclerc goes and makes that move once again on the outside of the field there. Great to see these two fight, of course. And then behind, not too far, is also the Porsche of Lando Norris's. Albon sends it back down the inside at Copse. Look at them go. Fantastic stuff. So the Jaguar car back ahead of the Ferrari. So soon enough, that Porsche might join them in. So it might be Norris v Leclerc v Albon, just like it is in real life a lot of the time at the moment in the virtual world of racing as it stands. But here we are then, focusing back onto our car in this Grand Prix. Lap number 12. So a fair few laps have passed since we made that first pit stop. I wanted to go for a massive undercut if I could, but it's unfortunately not worked, I think, because I saw, yeah, there you go. Ricciardo maintains the lead, I think that is in this Grand Prix. Of course, it's not first on the road, but it will be first eventually. Myself in a net P2, and behind me, I think, is Carlos Sainz. Yes, it is. So the undercut is, I don't know, not really worked, but also in some ways has maintained our position in the race. I feel like we would have dropped down the order with the tyre where I was facing in that first stage of the Grand Prix. So I guess it's kind of a give and go in that kind of sense. But we now watch on as we move through onto the next lap, on towards lap 13, 14. Gasly with a lovely little move maybe to finish it. Yes, he does on Van Dorn. Caught him napping a little bit, caught up behind the Audi, and so the Red Bull doing quite well to be back up into what is P4 on the race. But Van Dorn gets it back down the inside at turn 1. They're still side by side into Village. Gasly, can he make the move that I made on him earlier on the Grand Prix? Yes, he can. The two still jockey for position, and through the long left hand of Van Dorn, still trying to maintain that space on the track. Gasly giving him the room to work with. Both have DRS there, so to drag race in a straight line, the Jaguar power comes out on top, it seems, just by a whisker compared to the Porsche power and the Red Bull, but the two are still going at it now for what's going to be nearly half a lap at this rate there, as they're going for potentially even a move on Carlos Sainz soon. Gasly gets up the order, up into P3. Vettel now enters the room and enters the fight as he tries to go for a move potentially. As now Gasly, we go back to that fight down the inside at Cops. Sainz maintains position just about. Now look at that, Vettel and Van Dorn make a move and have caught Gasly unawares. And actually I think Gasly's got some damage there on the right hand side of his front wing. I think yes he does. Gasly has damage, so both Red Bulls are going to be handicapped in this race now with front wing damages. Now it's now 3 wide between both Audis and Van Dorn, and Sebastian Vettel has made a beautiful pass for up into P3 of this Grand Prix. I think it's not P3 on the road at the moment, but P3 eventually in this Grand Prix. And behind him then Van Dorn, Sainz, Gasly, but for how much longer, because Verline is right behind him in the Porsche chasing after. Then you've got Russell, Schumacher, then this is Albon in the Jaguar, a bit of a gap, and then Giovinazzi, who had to obviously make a front wing change, having damage in the first stint, ahead of Leclerc just about, and then you've got Norris making a move on Sergio Perez, and oh, what? Oh no! What a great time to cut onto that camera angle, but what a unfortunate incident for Sergio Perez, as he's been taken out the Grand Prix there with some contact from Lando Norris, and so the man who featured quite heavily in a great midfield fight scrap last round is out of the British Grand Prix, as we now move back to the fight, I guess in the midfield you could say, between this is Russell, Gasly, I think this is, yes, and Mick Schumacher. So Gasly's already been overtaken by Verline here, and now he's going slow enough to be overtaken by the Mercedes and Ferrari. So that's really unfortunate for the Red Bull team. Both drivers, seemingly have the pace to fight right at the front, but both of them have had damage in this Grand Prix at one point or another and have taken them out of that fight, as now we see that is Sainz battling Verline. So Sainz going slow as well. So we've seen a kind of swap of positions there the last season or so. Ever since Vettel moved to Audi, it's mainly been Sainz being the team leader, but today Vettel looking like the faster man in the German car, and Sainz maybe having some tyre issues early on in this stint maybe. But of course it's not all plain sailing for the German in the German car, because Van Dorn is going to come knocking with DRS. The Jaguar cars of course have had upgrades this weekend, are looking much better in a straight line, and Van Dorn now trying to go on the outside of the field, and he makes it work. Maybe got some inspiration there from Leclerc earlier on that Grand Prix, and he's up into P3 as it stands now in this Grand Prix. As we cut back finally to our POV, lap number 15. The reason why you haven't seen too much of me so far in this second stint is because I've been trying to chase down this man. Daniel Ricciardo's taken us a few laps to do it, but here we go now, going for the move, for the race lead. It's a 1-2 from McLaren, but can we try and swap that the other way around and get into first place? Ricciardo though, very good on the defensive work on the inside there. We're going to have to try and yield and just try and keep this behind as close as we can for the DRS potential. Just another attempt on the back straight, the hanger straight into Stowe as we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so you can see how hard I am pushing to close this gap. But now that we've come here, Ricciardo is doing a great job. Of course, the first time I battled him as a teammate, I battled him before in the MyDriver career mode, especially season 3, I remember, was a Titanic championship fight between myself, Ricciardo, and Verstappen, as Leclerc is now out of the Grand Prix as we make the move for first place into Magnussen Beckett. But obviously it's easier said than done to maintain that position, because Ricciardo is going to come flying at us with DRS, and look at the closing speed, and he's right back through. So it's I think it's going to be a bit of Formula 1 chess, like I've likened a few times in the com box as of late, in terms of the pace is so equalised between myself and Ricciardo. I think it's going to be a case of who wants to be in second place maybe towards the end of the Grand Prix, as we now move on to lap number 18, and we come once again on the hanger straight, this time opting for the left hand side to maybe go the long way around, but this will be the inside for the next corner as we go down the hill into the chicane. Ricciardo on the right, we're going to get that inside line there and leave some room for Ricciardo to work with, but at the same time try and close that off, and we do get to the apex on the right, and we're up into first. And now how long can we maintain it on this lap though? That's the question as we go on to lap number 19. We don't have too much ERS to work with, so we're down to high then, as was the case in Bahrain, the ERS deploying quite a lot and draining quite a lot as Ricciardo goes the long way around at Village. Lock up from us on the right tyre, and that allows the Australian to slip it down the inside. We're now wheel banging, and it's a drag race off that left hand. He's got a bit better traction as we go on the curb, leave him some room, but now down this straight, he he's got DRS, I don't, so he should definitely have this overtake done, but we're going to try our best to sling this round on the right. And so now for what this is going to basically be nearly a whole lap side by side at this point as we go through the field. Ricciardo just edges me out for first place, but we get back in the slipstream. We're going to pull alongside him once again into Copse. Now the corner's going to tighten up for us way more than Ricciardo then. We have a little bit of a wobble mid-corner of oversteer, and so he gets back up into first place. But this is a titanic battle and so poetic really. Two McLarens, British cars, racing at the British Grand Prix for first and second, powered by obviously Jaguar engines. Absolutely amazing. And so this is already becoming maybe one of the battles of this season already. We get back into first place. I've lost count of how many times we swapped positions here for first, as now the tyre wear kicks in a little bit as I go very wide on the exit, but he comes back once again on lap 20. This time we're on the inside. You can see how awkward is it trying to keep this side by side because the cars are so light, so the cars just kind of glide through. But look at this switchback we've just done, and Ricciardo, absolutely amazing stuff. We sold him the dummy. We went wide on the left, cut in tight, got back into first, but now into Copse. Ricciardo comes back again. Oh, he's got it again. This is great to watch, but it's so frustrating as well because we're so equalised on pace. This man has the exact same pace as I do, it seems, and he's got the exact same sort of speed into every corner, so every move I'm making he can make equally on the next straight, the next subsequent sector. And so, well, I've got DRS somehow actually, but still Ricciardo pulls alongside because I've not got too much ERS. We're down in none ERS deployment because remember at Bahrain, I don't want to make that mistake again. At Bahrain we ran out of ERS quite a few times, especially towards the end of the Grand Prix, so I need to make sure I save ERS as much as I can. So now doing some saving if I can and keeping Ricciardo at bay if I can. But meanwhile, into P3 goes Sebastian Vettel, Van Dorn P4, P5 is now Pascal Wehrlein, who's just overtaken Sainz. Then you've got P7 of George Russell ahead of Mick Schumacher, Gasly just about holding on, then Albon, and then you've got behind him Giovinazzi recovering in this Grand Prix, and it would have been ahead of the second Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, of course, but remember, he retired just as I started that battle with Ricciardo, so Ferrari going to be pretty damn frustrated with that. Reliability issues throughout testing and round 1, and it's continued on to round 2. We're now watching on for a battle for P5 between Schumacher, Russell, I think that's Wehrlein in the Porsche, and then Sainz just about hanging on there for dear life, but he's going backwards and backwards in this Grand Prix. Schumacher maintains P5 for now ahead of Russell. Wehrlein just got overtaken by Russell actually, so Russell doing a great job in that new improved Mercedes, although saying that we haven't seen Verstappen at all, so I think Verstappen's had another calamity with tyres or car issues as Russell now goes up into 5th place, and Sainz behind tries to make a half-hearted attempt on Wehrlein into the left-hander. So Russell now up into P5, so flying the flag for the new improved Mercedes car, whilst his more senior and one World Championship winning teammate is nowhere to be seen in this Grand Prix. So frustrations will be growing even more in the Verstappen camp in the Silver Arrow team as Schumacher gets it back down the inside and Wehrlein joins. It's 3 wide between the Ferrari, Mercedes and Porsche car, and Wehrlein is now up into P5. You love to see it, battling all down, all sorts, every single corner. Russell comes back now with DRS. Sainz in the mix as well. Sainz looks to re-overtake Schumacher and maybe claw his way back into this Grand Prix. And meanwhile, Albon trying to attack Pierre Gasly for P9 in this Grand Prix. Remember, Gasly has got damage on the front wing on the left-hand side, and so Albon goes on the right and he's going to sail through up into P9. Gasly down to P10. Remember, though, points for the top 12, so still some okay points for Red Bull, but of course both drivers very unfortunate to be hit with damage on their front wing. So for now, we don't really know how quick the Red Bulls are because both races, one of them or both of them have had issues, either be it damage, tyre wear or mechanical issues. So the Red Bull's still a bit of a dark horse in this season, I think, but we now move back to the fight for P3. This is between Van Dorn and Sebastian Vettel, and I think these two have been basically like a yo-yo, just going back and forth this entire stint because Van Dorn has the pace in the corners and has the pace in the straight line now with DRS, with the upgrades for the Jaguar powered cars, but Vettel of course just has the overriding power every single straight. So I think these two have been swapping left, right and centre. But speaking about swapping left, right and centre, we cut back finally now to this fight for first and second in this Grand Prix between myself and Ricciardo. But me and Ricciardo have been fighting so much and holding each other up so much that now you can see Vettel and Van Dorn aren't too far behind us now as we go through to the last few laps of this this Grand Prix. Ricciardo pulls alongside, once again gets back up into first place of the British Grand Prix. But what did I say about the weather never being a constant here at Britain? I think the sky is getting a little bit darker, and so there might be just a winds of rain on the way on the last lap of this Grand Prix potentially. But we're into second place now. We need to try and do the best job we can to get back into first. We don't make the move into the old turn one. We're going to try and make a move into Max Beckett instead as we go on the right-hand side, dip a tyre onto the grass, just about leave Ricciardo enough room. My heart in my mouth every time we make these overtakes. We're so close to just absolute calamity and disaster. But we're up into first, Ricciardo down to second, but here comes Vettel, the German. Will he make the move for first? Give me 3 wide maybe into Stowe. We're going to maintain first just about. No, Ricciardo's down the inside out of nowhere. Vettel is going to settle down for P3 instead, and we're just going to hold position. Ricciardo gets back up into the lead. We've got 2 laps left now of the British Grand Prix, and it's now completely overcast. I think the rain is coming, and pretty rapidly potentially, but look at that. The tyre wear is an absolute disaster. If all things were normal, I probably would have said let's come in earlier on lap 20 and gone for a 2-stop here, because we've got nearly 70% tyre wear on the left rear, which usually means kind of puncture territory. So let's hope and pray we don't have that with only 2 laps to go. DRS open, but it doesn't matter. The Audi's so quick on the left-hand side. We go and try and squeeze Sebastian onto left. Man who had a fantastic championship fight with, remember, in season 4 of this career mode. We're going to send him wide, and that's going to allow Van Dorn now to be the one to attack me. So Jaguar Power v Jaguar Power, drag race into the old turn 1. And looks like Van Dorn's had a great exit because he does pull alongside us. We're going to keep it flat through that corner, just down 1 gear to keep it through, and we're going to maintain P2, but just by a fraction because Van Dorn's still there, as is Vettel as well, I think, in the mirrors. Yeah, they're side by side as he now cuts to the last lap of the Grand Prix, and look at that. In typical British fashion, the rain has started to come down, and look at this, a late lunge for George Russell to try and get up into P5 in his Mercedes car. Wehrlein gets it back though on the exit. The water's starting to collect on the road surface, and so it's very slippery out here. You can see we go wide in P2. Vettel now tries to overtake. He's going to go very harsh on him and defend, and Van Dorn is allowed to slip through. Sorry, Sebastian, that was a little bit too harsh potentially, but all's fair in game. The FIC, nothing wrong with that. So Van Dorn gets up into P3 on the last lap of this Grand Prix, but this man pulled away, was opportunistic, and just didn't get involved in the fighting late on when the rain started to come down. So Daniel Ricciardo is going to come through for the win at the British Grand Prix, but can we maintain the 1-2 from McLaren? Lock up into the second last corner. We're skating across the last apex here to just about do it and get second place at our home race ahead of Van Dorn and Sebastian Vettel. But this man has won the British Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo, his 14th win of his career in the MyDriver universe, and this one I'm sure will feel so sweet after what was such an epic battle with myself for the race lead. Like, honestly, it's only the second episode, but that could already be a big contender for, battle of the entire season, for the race lead in McLaren's Jaguar Power, like I said, at the British Grand Prix. Doesn't get better than that. But Daniel Ricciardo does win from myself. Van Dorn in third, the third step of the podium. Sebastian Vettel fourth. Russell did actually, in fact, get 5th place in the end then against Wehrlein. We missed the overtake. Unfortunately, wasn't able to even capture it, but he did overtake Wehrlein there at the end. Carlos Sainz limped home in P7 with some issues, maybe with his tyres. I'm not too sure. And then Albon with a good, decent first point showing for him in 8th place. Schumacher P9. I think he hit issues maybe because he was quite high up there, but then he just fell down the order. And then Gasly and Giovinazzi P10 and 11. They'll be very frustrated with that because they clearly have the pace to be right up there with the likes of myself and Ricciardo and Van Dorn. So we'll see if the luck will ever come for Red Bull. And then Christian Lundgaard had a very quiet race. We saw nothing of the Renaults really, or the Aston Martins or BMWs this race because there wasn't so much fighting going on at the top that we couldn't show you everything today. But Christian Lundgaard had a very quiet race once again and just got another point. So he's actually on 2 points now this season, I think. And Verstappen there, you can see, P13. He's going to be fuming there. Another issue for him in the car. I don't know what it was exactly, tyres or mechanical, I don't know, but another issue. So the pressure's going to be mounting for Mercedes to fix whatever issues he's having. The team that he won a championship with is now not going so well for him. But of course, other big names haven't also fared too well. Leclerc, DNF, Sergio Perez, DNF, and Lando Norris. He was actually looking quite quick. He was making moves for the top 10 positions, but for some reason just fell away in that race and he finished up in P17. But of course, that could happen. It's obviously a new team in Formula 1. You know, you're not going to have a reliable race or a consistent race every single time, but all the way down the field then, plenty of action. But what it means then for the Drivers' Championship, we go now up into first place by 3 points to Sebastian Vettel. Sainz only 1 point behind his German teammate. Ricciardo into P4 with 33. Verline, Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Van Dorn, Russell, Perez, Albon and Norris round out that top 12 then. Obviously, it is very early days, but at the same time, it's only an 11 race calendar. So at this stage, you're maybe starting to see maybe a little bit of who the fighters are, but also remember, there are other teams that have already stated they've got upgrades coming later on this year, so there may be some dark horses lurking around. Like I said, Sebastian Vettel, in a way, is almost a dark horse, because ever since he's joined Audi, he's not really been the team leader. Sainz has been it, so he's looking very decent in this Grand Prix. But in terms of the constructors' standings then, it's even closer, because Audi lead, but they're level on points with us at McLaren in second place. Then you've got a bit of a gap then to Porsche, who's actually doing a stunning job in their debut in Formula 1 to be ahead of Jaguar. Of course, though, they had that DNF with Van Dorn, so they've actually made a massive step from P10 to P4. Then you've got Ferrari somehow just managing to stay ahead of Red Bull, who will definitely be very angry and wanting to turn it up, definitely with those upgrades at Germany next time out in P6. Then Mercedes P7, BMW, Renault and Aston Martin, the only team yet to score points. I'm sure, though, their time will come at some point. This entire series is too crazy for every team not to score points, like I said last episode. But another action-packed one. But you know what? I actually enjoyed that one actually a bit better, because I was in a great scrap with Ricciardo for the race lead. That was so enjoyable. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And if you did enjoy that entire episode, then be sure to smash the like button. I gotta say, guys, a massive thank you for the support on episode number 1. You guys have literally killed my expectations of what this series was going to do on its return, and so I just can't thank you guys enough for that. Let me know what you guys thought of that race in the comments below. Who do you reckon's going to come out on top next time? Do you reckon Red Bull finally get a bit of luck? Let me know. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.